If you've been following this channel for really any amount of time, you would probably know my stances on three guys. Okay. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. Okay. You would know how much I fucking talk about this draft class because I talk about it a lot on this channel. I talk about it infinitely more than my actual home team, the Kansas City Chiefs. I talk about them more than the team that I actually root for because this conversation comes up on a day in, day out basis. Doesn't matter the topic, doesn't matter the fucking context. These three guys come up everywhere. Everywhere. We're talking about the draft right now, and we're already completing and we're already comparing the draft situation that's going right now with Will Levis to the Zach Wilson Justin Fields situation. And all of it is all based off of two main things: confirmation bias and recency bias. Okay, it's all based off of two things. People believe that Zach Wilson is bad. They believe that Zach Wilson is bad, and whether that is the reality or whether that is our perception, people believe it, and they will actively seek out and ignore every single thing that proves their point. They will ignore anything that disproves it, and they will seek out everything that does. They will constantly do that. And then take a guy like Justin Fields, where they will ignore all the bad things for Justin Fields and only focus on the good things for Justin Fields. And we look at the Trey Lance situation where we ignore the fact that Kyle Shanahan, before Brock Purdy came into this offense, Kyle Shanahan was 9-36 with every other quarterback, including Trey Lance. And it was not some one-season wonders, okay? And I guess, they're not CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, who were the primary culprit of a lot of the losses, aren't star-studded quarterbacks, okay? But if any quarterback can run the 49ers offense, why couldn't CJ Beathard win more than 2 games? I believe he's 2-15. Nick Mullins 6-12. Brian Hoyer 0-6. I mean, if anybody can just plug and play on this offense, why couldn't they do it? Why couldn't Trey Lance, who in 4 full games, why was he only a 54% passer, threw for 4 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, averaged over the course of these games 199 yards off 24 passes per game? We sit here and we wonder why was Trey, or one of the things that we just don't really think of, why is Trey Lance, why is it that Trey Lance was not putting up Brock Purdy level numbers? Brock Purdy, I mean, he was the last pick of the draft. He was the Mr. Irrelevant. That's kind of been the story around him. Now, he put up a stat line and shit similar to kind of what we saw out of Joe Burrow coming out of college in terms of yardage and touchdowns, interceptions, all that stuff. But, he plays for Ohio State. And because he played for Ohio State, we artificially ignore guys from the non-SEC, non-Big Ten schools when it comes to them putting up big yardage, because retroactively we look at the guys in situations where it doesn't work and just ignore every situation where that applies to the SEC and the Big Ten. Like, take for example, the guy who I've talked about a lot on this channel, Justin Fields. Okay, I believe that Justin Fields is fucking terrible. Okay, and personally, I believe that Ohio State and Alabama suck at producing quarterbacks. Okay? They fucking are terrible at producing quarterbacks. Are they good at generally speaking, are they generally good at producing other positions? Are they generally good at producing running backs and generally good at producing wide receivers and corners? Generally, they are. But they suck at producing the top talent in these positions. And when you have a quarterback, the top talent is what everybody expects. Name the last Ohio State quarterback that was really good in the NFL. Because I fucking can't, to be honest with you. Justin Fields doesn't look good. I don't have a whole high hopes for CJ Stroud, just being honest. But, I think that maybe he could break the streak. So we look at pedigree here. The pedigree, everybody's talking about the pedigree of Justin Fields versus Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson won 5 games this season. In those 5 games, 60% passer off 25 attempts, 170 yards per game. He was sacked 10 times and had a 2 to 10 touchdown to interception ratio. Now, I would like to note that there's an asterisk on the touchdown ratio portion. Because when you go back and we look at the film, which everybody likes to fucking do whenever they need to prove some asinine point, when they need to retroactively prove themselves, they go out and they look at the film. And when we go out and we look at the film, we see that there are games, like what happened with the Dolphins, where, sure, on the stat sheet, he put up 0 touchdowns. But then you go back and you look, and it's like, oh shit, he threw this 20-yard pass to Breece Hall, who took it all the way down to the fucking 1-yard line and couldn't punch it in. And then he did it again with Breece Hall, again, and it didn't punch it in. And we see repeatedly, multiple times, especially with the Jets, multiple times with the fucking Jets, where they will throw the ball and they will get it so close and so in position and then just completely fail to actually capitalize. Because they will run plays with quarterbacks that don't make that can't make that play, and then they have a quarterback on the roster that can make the play. This is a little bit of a tangent, but we saw the same shit with the Jaguars game, where they brought out Chris Streveler and ran a rollout, a play concept that Zach Wilson fucking thrives in, by the way, is amazing at rollouts, and Chris Streveler can't throw a football more than 10 yards, and so he massively underthrew a potential touchdown on a play call that Mike LaFleur just didn't make with Zach Wilson. Which goes into my other long-running stance and theory on this channel, that no quarterback could have succeeded with the Jets. No quarterback from the 2020 draft class would have succeeded with the Jets, just in general. I mean, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Mac Jones, it doesn't really fucking matter. It does not matter. All of them would have sucked completely. Would have been fucking awful. Awful in that position. In Zach Wilson's position. Now retroactively, we go back and we say, oh, well, Justin Fields was the number 2 guy. He was the number 2 guy all through all of high school. Through the first 2 years of college, he was the number 2 guy. Number 2 quarterback in the nation. It was him and Trevor Lawrence. Now, there's not a single serious analyst who thought that Trevor Lawrence wasn't going number 1. So take Trevor Lawrence off the fucking board, okay? When we're comparing quarterbacks here. When we're comparing quarterbacks, remember how I said Zach Wilson in those 5 wins this season, 60% passing, 170 yards, sacked 10 times. Remember that? Justin Fields won 3 games this season. Okay? He won 3 games this season. And in those 3 games, he had a 52.7% passer completion percentage. He completed 9 on average. He completed 9 passes. He had back-to-back winning games, by the way, where he completed 8 passes. He went 8 for 17 back-to-back in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, he had 2 games where he went 8 and 17. Only passed for 135 yards a game. 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. And that's not including the fact that versus the New England Patriots, he put the ball on the ground 4 times. He fumbled 4 times. So that's also a little bit of a problem, but we're not really going to fucking even dive really too head deep into that one. And he was sacked 11 times. In his 3 wins, Justin Fields played like dog shit. If Zach Wilson put up those numbers, he would have been thrown into the Hutchinson River with fucking anchors around his legs. He would have been thrown in there and would have died. Off rip. He would have straight up, you wouldn't have seen from Zach Wilson again. But our confirmation bias over Justin Fields, people believe that Justin Fields is the number 2 quarterback from this draft class when he is not, and he's not done anything to prove it. And they go, oh, well, look at Justin Fields, he doesn't have these fucking weapons, yada, yada, yada. Ain't no fucking weapons. Ain't no motherfucking weapons gonna be doing jack shit when you're completing 52% of your passes. 52% of your passes is Tim Tebow level. Did he get better throughout the season? He got better in specific games against terrible passing defenses, of which he still lost. He went out after he beat San Francisco. You know how he went through and turned the momentum? By going 7 of 11 for 70 yards against Green Bay. And then, you want to know how he had his illustrious performance against the Texans where he had 2 picks to 0 touchdowns, 8 and 17? Yeah, he followed that up by going 11 for 22 and 174 against the Giants. Against the New York motherfucking Giants. He played like dog crap. And then he has his only solid game of the year outside of the Miami game. And he still loses. He still keeps putting the ball on the ground and fumbling it. And he still barely breaks 200 passing yards. He wasn't doing a whole lot on the ground, by the way, in that game. Only 50 yards on the ground, 0 touchdowns from the ground game. That was his passing debut. That was his passing good game. And then he followed that up by going 14 of 27 against the Washington Commanders in a game they lost by 1 touchdown when there are multiple instances where he is on the goal line and he chokes. So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the motherfucking deal. We can either accept that some quarterbacks are in bad situations, and that when we are evaluating these quarterbacks, okay, we need to evaluate the whole situation, the entire situation for every quarterback, evaluate the fact that Zach Wilson's coaching is some of the worst in the NFL, and that for half of his games this season, his best O-linemen were injured, which caused him to be the second most pressured quarterback in all of football. The most pressured quarterback in all of football, by the way, goes to Justin Fields at 27%. Zach Wilson was pressured, I believe it was 26.8% of the time. Oh, and by the way, little tangent. Everybody on the Jets offense was pressured a lot. Justin Fields created 7% to 15% more pressures on him when he was the guy throwing the ball. I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do here? You can either accept that Zach Wilson's coaching is god awful, and that when the team was healthy, the team was winning, and that is what matters. Winning is what matters. Or we can sit here chasing talent, a bunch of talent that does not win jack shit and looks completely dog shit at the worst possible times. The bottom line here, the bottom Mariana Trench line here, is that Justin Fields, when it mattered, and in the games that he won, was shit. And it did not matter that his defense played the way his defense played. In the games that he won, it was really only because the defense kept the other team from getting momentum. Even though he almost lost the Houston game and probably would have lost the San Francisco game had it not been for the fact they played in a goddamn monsoon against a basically rookie Trey Lance, who himself is not played very good this season. And that both of these quarterbacks, when you look at them from an objective standpoint, all of these quarterbacks have room for improvement. Zach Wilson is not perfect. Justin Fields is definitely not fucking perfect. And Trey Lance is underdeveloped. He's a little undercooked. All of which we kind of expected to see. We kind of expected that Zach Wilson may need a little bit more development. If the team kind of collapses around him, may need a bit more development. He's not superstar, Superman level caliber here. And most of us probably figured that Trey Lance might be a little undercooked. A lot of people thought, including myself, that he was undercooked even being drafted. They should have been drafted number 3. By the way, he was drafted over Justin Fields. And through all of this, we can get through our recency bias and our confirmation bias on these guys. Because at the end of the day, Zach Wilson looked solid coming out of college. Sure, you can blame the fucking opponents, but who the fuck did Brock Purdy play? Who the fuck did Brock Purdy play and he's lighting up the goddamn league? Who the fuck did Sauce Gardner play? Sauce Gardner came out of Cincinnati. Who the fuck does Cincinnati play that makes Cincinnati so damn good? Apparently. Like, it does not make sense. And for Justin Fields, we all know why he fell to where he fell. He fell because he wasn't better than Trevor Lawrence. The Jets didn't believe in him, and they thought that Justin Fields' epilepsy, might fuck with his ability to actually play the game and play it well. Which, who knows? Maybe it does, and maybe that's why fucking Justin Fields is dog shit, like he is, over 2 years. Again, it does not matter what you did in college, because all of these guys played good enough to be top 5 or to be top 10 picks in the NFL draft in college. They all played well enough. In college, they all played well enough. So at what point we need to ask ourselves, at what point do we stop kidding ourselves on evaluating quarterbacks? Because right now, we're looking at this current NFL draft. We're looking at this current one, and we got Will Levis, who he played in the SEC. Going into this year, he was seen as a first-round draft pick anyways. Probably would have been a first-round pick last year if he was eligible to be drafted last year. And so you have Will Levis, who played tough competition, who has an arm, who has the size and the measurables and shit, and people are comparing him to Zach Wilson because they believe that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are objectively better guys. And at the end of the day, we will see who is the best quarterback out of that trio. But if history is anything to show for it, CJ Stroud will probably go to a team that thinks they're a quarterback away, at least. We'll probably go to a team like that and maybe shows some semblance of being decent and completely shits on everything that he's ever done. Like Justin Fields did, and tragically, like Dwayne Haskins did before him. And even the guy before Dwayne Haskins before him, and the guy before him. And then we look at Bryce Young. Look at the caliber of Bama quarterbacks, and you will see why I do not believe in Bryce Young either. Because as retroactively as people want to claim Justin Hurts for Alabama, Jalen Hurts got benched in Alabama for Tua. Tua, who needed a whole fucking menagerie of top star talent to even look good, to even look like a star quarterback and not get thrown out of Miami. And then you have Mac Jones, which nobody fucking believes in Mac Jones, even though I think that Mac Jones might be the best quarterback to come out of Bama in maybe their goddamn history. Maybe. But at the end of the day, the only fucking thing that you need to take away from this whole situation is that Zach Wilson was selected for New York. When the team was healthy, Zach Wilson played decent. He wasn't a star. He wasn't quite a bust. He played decent and he won games. And that's, at the end of the day, all that fucking matters. Because if you're Justin Fields next year, I mean, let's look at the outlook for these guys. If Justin Fields goes out next year, and it's undoubtable that he's going to get some talent on his team, but if he goes out this next year, and still sucks, still can't win more than 3 games, we're going to be looking at Justin Fields the same way we looked at Tim Tebow. It's just going to be a year removed. Tim Tebow got 2 years. By the way, Tim Tebow won a playoff game, but, to each their own. We're going to be looking at Justin Fields the same way we look at Tim Tebow. And if Zach Wilson gets the chance that he deserves, and I say he deserves the chance because Zach Wilson has been pulled twice now from being the starter for really only just pressure from the NFL media to do so. And if Zach Wilson goes out and they're winning games, I don't give a fuck if Zach Wilson goes out and they're winning games and he only throws 3 passes a game. He could go out and hand the ball off 30 times and they could win games, and I'll be happy for the Jets. Do I give a fuck about any of these guys? Nah, because they don't play for the Chiefs at the end of the day. But I believe in giving quarterbacks who deserve a chance the chance to succeed. And this is the deal. This is the deal that we're in. Now, you could completely disagree with me on this. You could completely throw my fucking opinion into the garbage. Do a little fucking fade away. It don't matter. Justin Fields is not good right now. Zach Wilson is pretty mediocre right now. He's pretty pedestrian right now. And Trey Lance is probably going to get benched for Brock Purdy next year. And honestly, I think that the 49ers should trade Trey Lance. But that's my opinion on the whole situation there. Now, honestly, all 3 of these quarterbacks may end up just collapsing next year based on the current trajectory. But that's what we're dealing with right now. So, fuck you gonna do? Fuck are you gonna do?